5 o'clock, so we're going to open the Rules and Legislative Committee. All the commissioners are present and accounted for, and we're ready for prayer. Let us pray. Our Father, who art the hope of all the earth, remember us in love and guide us by thine wisdom. We ask thee to grant blessings upon thy servants, our community leaders, our county mayor, the commissioners, our city mayor and councilmen. Bless us with the spirit of wisdom, goodness, and truth. May law and order, justice and peace prevail. Defend our liberties, preserve our unity, and guide our community. To the honor of thy holy name. Amen. The first item on the agenda is approval of the November 15th, 2022 Rules and Legislative Committee minutes.
Move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Second item is consideration of placing the December 13th, 2022 Commission minutes on the January 10th, 2023 County Commission agenda.
Make a motion, we place those on the agenda without a recommendation.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The next item is consideration of placing the notary applicants on the January 10th, 2023 County Commission agenda as requested by County Clerk Donna Thomas.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The next is consideration of placing the County Highway Department listing on the January 10th, 2023 County Commission agenda. And the Highway Department
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Superintendent's here, and we got a listing, so
Make a motion to place those on the agenda.
Second.
any questions or discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the next is a veterans report. I think it was about, for November, there were 55 that were transported to VA hospitals, and 70 came by the Veterans Office. And Mike, do you have any other updates or anything else to add?
Yes, we have a new addition now, Benjamin Ely, and Pam Robertson is retiring.
Okay.
So Ben's going to be a great addition to the hospice down there. We're looking forward to working with him.
Good, good. Any other discussion or questions for the veterans? Okay, it's a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The community clinic report was in there just for our own information. I think 67 patients were seen by the physicians. I believe 17 were served in the dental clinics, and as we said last time, they're providing free mammograms. Essentially St. Thomas is coming down and doing some of that as well. But that's just for our own information. Next, Agriculture Center Board. Any update on that, Commissioner Anderson?
We did have a meeting last Monday, and we hadn't had one in a while. Finally got everybody, well, not everybody there, we got enough there to have one anyway. So the meetings that you've got are from the last time we had a full meeting, and a special call meeting about the grant.
Everything okay this last meeting?
Yes.
Okay, that's just for our own information as well. Is there any other questions or discussion for the Ag Board? And under old business, nominations for standing committees, Rules and Legislative Committee is a nominating committee, shall submit any nomination for standing committee position to be changed. Of course, we did a little different this year, and it's basically been done. I have not had anyone that's approached me to want to change, so I'm assuming it's going to be okay. We'll just place them on the agenda as they stand right now. If it's whatever committee wants to do. Have y'all had any
I'm fine with it.
interest?
I'm fine with everybody that's on where they're at.
There's nobody voiced any
Nobody
Yeah,
wants to
no
change.
desire
Up
to
to
change.
me,
Motion to send it on
as is.
as is. Correct.
Okay, is motion a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, ethics, policy, of course, we've been waiting on the training, which I believe is tomorrow, and I had that under.
Well, that's on the
Okay,
county
That's-
powers.
okay, oh, that's County
Yeah,
Powers
yeah,
Act.
yeah.
And, well, we were gonna do some other stuff with ethics, but it's a resolution to adopt the CTAS updated policy. I know we mentioned it, before. What's the wishes of the committee?
Are we prepared to adopt this?
See,
Then
well, I don't
I
see
would
why
make
not.
I would make a motion that we adopt the ethics policy here.
Okay.
It's in
Second.
the package, is there any discussion
Well,
or questions?
I think last
I
time we
got a
didn't have
question.
time.
like
Okay,
fine.
well, good, no,
Wait a minute. Maybe I'm gonna have a question. Can't find my stuff. It talks under section 3, voting prohibited if conflict of interest. It says, no member of the legislative body of a county who is an employee of the same or whose spouse is employee of the same county may vote on matters in which such member has a conflict of interest. Could you expound on that? What are we talking about there?
Well,
You
Mr. Chairman,
shouldn't
we've
be
got,
voting on your budget.
That's where we have people that read the conflict of interest statement.
Okay, well, can they still read the conflict of interest statement, or would they just not vote?
they read the
I'm assuming they
conflict.
can still read it, correct?
Can I make a statement on that?
Yes, sir.
My understanding from the state, and this is what we've done each year at budget time, as long as all the budgets are bundled together, then even if the department, the employee works in one of those departments, you don't have to declare a conflict of interest. If you break them out and you vote individually on them, then they would have a conflict and not be able to vote.
Okay.
Okay, and then whatever other clarification again, we did not tweak this
Yeah.
document, this is straight out of what the state.
This is
Okay, all right.
That's state
This is not
law.
our version of this.
It's state law. The only changes were section 1 introduction was added as an update from the
Okay.
policy that you're currently on at 16 years.
Okay,
The definitions for voting prohibited in conflict of interest and disclosure of personal interest in non-voting matters, instead of it just being mentioned in the current policy, which is a definition only, they have their own specific sections. So specifically, CTAS sent this to General Assembly because of the amendments in 2021 to the Public Chapter 472 that amended Title 521, Section 121, which is the conflict of interest provision specific to financial management of 1981. The
okay,
only other change was not applicable to this county
Yeah.
because
'Cause
it
we're
was
under 81.
under the county purchasing law of 57. But again, it's left in there and we
Okay.
know what's applicable to us and what's not.
yeah.
So in your opinion, this is recommended by CTAS. You've
Well,
reviewed
Is that
it.
like off the CTAS model policy?
Yes, this is the
Okay.
CTOS
The
model
2022?
2022.
Yeah,
Yes, they
yeah.
updated it and sent it and it was adopted and we received it back actually on
Yeah.
August the 23rd.
And anytime you call, ask CTAS something
Yeah.
that, about their policy, they'll say your bylaws always supersede.
Yeah, yeah.
There.
There's just a model.
There's just recommendations.
Yeah, I just couldn't, I've got the model policy, and I just couldn't reconcile it, but we'll talk about that later.
Mr. Yaki wants to make a comment.
Yes.
Shannon reminded me too, the ethics committee that we have, and they have to be
Yeah.
done
There's been-
every year.
Yeah, that's annually
So-
and that's not
Mhm.
gonna change.
You
But
got that on your list?
what exactly do you have a question on,
Well,
Commissioner Battle?
Well,
Because it's, I mean, and
I
I'll
mean,
do
it
the
go-
best
I
I
go
can to
back-
answer it, but it's
yeah, I mean,
state
this,
legal counsel.
yeah, this doesn't affect me personally, but it says like, the vote of any member having a conflict of interest shall be void if challenged in a timely manner. And, you know, it says member of legislative body who is an employee of the same county or whose spouse is an employee may vote on matters in which such member has a conflicts of interest.
I mean, personally, with most policies that are written by
Mhm.
hierarchy legal counsel, it's very ambiguous
Yeah,
because
it's
they know that rural communities.
Yeah, it
have-
says no member, yeah.
Right, and so they write it in a way where it can be adopted and interpreted at many different levels. I mean, you're not gonna have as much of that, the more, like the bigger population
Right,
communities
right,
that you
yeah.
have. but CTAS legal wrote it, it was approved by state legal counsel. So
Okay.
if you specifically wanted to send me like what your questions were, I would be
Okay.
happy to refer
Okay,
those to
yeah, be-
CTAS and give you, an answer that I could give to the mayor's office and you could
Okay,
disperse
all
it.
right.
But you've personally reviewed this, you're comfortable with this, you would recommend us to
I would
move it on?
recommend that you all move ahead with
Okay.
what the state recommends,
Okay.
because you don't want to be on a policy
Right.
16 years old
Right.
that doesn't have the most appropriate financial management of 81 Act language in it.
Right.
And I'll be happy to get answers from the CTAS attorney that wrote it back to you all, so you're comfortable with that. But it's what went out to every county in the state of Tennessee in August of this year. And I didn't change anything other than adding our name.
I don't have any other questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, any other questions from any other commissioners? What's the wishes of the committee?
Move to approve, send to the full commission.
Second.
There's a second. Any other question or discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, next is, a resolution to amend the zoning resolution that, I think it was proposed by Commissioner Anderson. We got a copy of that.
Mr. Chair, can I make a motion to defer like the first of the year?
Yes, sir.
Second.
Okay, is any other
If I could say
questions?
something.
Yes, sir.
I wasn't sure if you wanted it actually on here, so that's why we
That's
dropped
fine.
it to old business and then it could be
Give everybody more
referred
time
or
to study,
taken off
read,
or
all that
whatever,
stuff, we
right?
just deferred like
So we
first
just
of the
wanted
year.
to make sure that
Yeah,
we were
thank you.
keeping track of what you
Yeah.
guys want to discuss.
Okay, well, I have a question.
Yeah.
When we come back next month to discuss this, are we going to discuss it, or are we gonna have a study session on it, or are we gonna spend some time on it? Are you prepared to go?
Whatever you want to do.
Okay,
I'm good.
are you prepared to
Wait,
answer
first
questions
you-
off of this,
Sure.
so that we can have, because I've got a lot of questions on
Sure.
all this.
And legal is supposed to be providing a document that will give some oversight
Sure.
for
Okay.
you guys to use
Absolutely.
against that, so that you'll be able to do a study session or.
Whatever you want to do.
Okay.
That's
Because I
fine.
think
I'm open to
I
what-
think the planning commission needs to be involved in this, a representative at least, and you would be a
Right.
representative, so they have
Absolutely.
some input in there. And, there's
Let's
just,
talk about it first of the year and just go from there.
okay,
That's good to y'all.
yep, that's fine.
Yeah, and I just got, so I'll get it out to you guys, they just sent me something that, legal, just giving some
Okay.
overview about the document, and then you'll need that time to study that.
Absolutely.
So, Mr. Chairman, he's made a motion, I guess, to defer for 30 days, is that
Okay,
I second.
do we need to have a study session between now and our next meeting, or not?
We're
I
gonna put
guess,
it off to February, and that'll give us time to have a study
Yeah,
session.
because I don't think we'll have time.
Because I know people have time on holidays and all, y'all wanna wait.
Yeah, you
no, that'd be
decide,
fine,
Jay.
okay, that'd be great.
January, we'll do
I
next
just-
February, study session.
Okay, Commissioner Yaki.
The planning commission is going through the document too.
Right.
And so, I guess I'm a little confused as to it being a resolution, but in my head, what the planning commission needs is all the things that maybe Bill is addressing to make sure that we cover them as we go through changing the document, because the commission can't change the document. It's
Right.
gotta come from the planning commission up, but just things that you want us to look at would be great, Bill. I guess
Okay.
that's where I'm coming from.
We'll share it, we'll push the document,
figure-
the
we'll work on it.
resolution and the legal,
Yeah.
the information we currently have, we'll push.
Okay.
Okay, fine with me.
Well, then let's do this. Let's study it in January.
Yeah.
And then in February, we'll go from there, but we
So
really
we're
need to have a lot of
we're
people
not in a
included
rush.
in this.
No
Okay,
rush.
okay.
Everybody's good.
Mr. Chairman, so if
Okay.
everybody's good with that, we push this.
Okay, there's a motion and a second, right?
Yep.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the next one is, county powers resolution deferred in January so we could attend the meeting tomorrow, which we still haven't gotten there yet, so I guess,
Again, we
what's your
just
wish?
put it on so that it
Yep.
will be there for you to decide how you.
Okay.
want
And I
to
think
use it.
Mr. White, tomorrow night, and the speaker, the moderator will be, and it'll be 2 hours from 6 o'clock until 8 o'clock over at the Dover Street. And we will discuss the county planning, County Powers Act and some other issues.
Yeah, currently we've got the bulk of it's in the County Powers Act, and then we've got 30 minutes, set aside for ethics.
Okay.
Will any of that be like, will y'all be streaming that or anything, or have that where you can see it later, or? No.
We haven't planned to do that.
Okay.
And it's,
I won't be able to come, but I could watch it, but,
Okay, we'll stream, we'll capture it.
Okay,
But it's a training session, and it's a mandatory training session for planning commission BZA members for 4 hours,
And city officials.
and city officials. Is there a training component for county commissioners? Could they receive credit for that as part of their
They
ongoing
certainly
training?
submit it. You know, they have a form that any training that could be relevant can be submitted for consideration by CTAS.
Because-
So, yeah, they absolutely would endorse that.
Because maybe some of the new commissioners don't know, they have to receive 8 hours, 7 hours of
7 hours a
training
year.
per year, and this could include a couple hours there as well as some
So
other
we'll
things.
record it for sure.
yeah,
That
because
would
you
be
can do
good.
it online too, so, yeah.
We'll record
Yeah,
this.
I'll watch.
We'll try to see if we can live stream, but if sometimes we can't live stream, we'll at least record it.
Okay, good.
So that we can get it back to you, okay?
And this process will allow us, with Sam there, to have a give and take and ask some questions and kind of understand where we're going and some scenarios that may apply and may not apply. So it's good for everybody on the commission to be there for this. Okay, thank you, Mr. White.
Okay, motion and a second?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, under new business, we've got a request to rename a bridge for Jimmy Woodson. I think, we have the petition in our packet, and I think, Ms. Charlene Woodson's here, and would you like to speak?
I'd like to make a motion, we do it with a favorable recommendation.
I'll second, absolutely.
Okay,
How do you want to-
I'd just like to say that I think most of the commissioners know Jimmy and have worked with him, and those that don't, I was married to him for almost 49 years, probably knew him better than anyone, and he spent all of his adult life in some type of public service. He spent 8 years as county mayor, 16 or 18 years as a county commissioner, and served on other boards, served on the planning commission until his death, and ambulance board for a number of years in between his 2 sessions of elected offices. And Jimmy was an honorable man that I think we could be proud to have the bridge named after him, and it's a bridge that I cross every time I go to town, and it would be very meaningful to me to see his name there. And so I would like to take this opportunity, any of you commissioners that are here, to ask you to please be willing to vote in favor of this. I know most of you, but some of the new ones I don't, and I can certainly vouch for Jimmy that I believe he's worthy of this honor.
He never quit serving the county. Even after he retired, the school superintendent came to him and said, "We've got such a shortage of people driving buses." He said, "I'll drive the bus." And he drove the school bus. I mean, he
would
just,
tell you, he enjoyed driving.
He loved
the
it,
school
yeah.
bus
Yeah,
as
that was
much as any job he had, he enjoyed it.
he was a great man. We were honored that you shared him with us. Thank you
Absolutely.
very much.
it's assistant principal as well.
That's right.
Yeah, he was.
Harrison. And then at Eastside School. Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we got announcements, tomorrow's, yes, sir, County Mayor.
Bedford Market representatives are here. They came in tonight. We didn't have any prior notice of it, but they would like to address the body concerning the beer distance rule.
Okay.
In their community. So,
Who wants to speak
I
in?
told them I wasn't sure if you would recognize what I want.
No, that, we'll let them speak, but it may be next
Whichever one.
month before we try to do
Sure,
anything, but.
They understand that you were on the agenda. Yeah, just tell them what you want to do.
We just asking if we can change the rules to the city rules because we have 2,000 square feet between our store to the church, and we really can't sell beer because the church close to us, and we kind of going out of business because that rules will help us a lot if we can change that.
So you're asking the commission to consider changing the distance, the beer distance rule?
And who is in the Bedford market, who's your county commissioner in that area?
Me and Diane.
You and Diane are. Well, you guys need to talk to Diane, Commissioner Neely and Commissioner Epperson.
On the end, they are.
These are your 2 county commissioners,
So
and
after
you,
the meeting, you may want to speak.
you want to start with them and have a discussion with them, because it has to come before, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman.
They've been to the beer board?
No, the big board don't have any authority over the districts. Yes, they
You
do go to the
you need to
beer
start
board,
the
they were not
conversation
able
with
to.
your two commissioners, and if the commissioners come before this committee with a resolution or a request to change the distance requirement, then this committee will be certainly glad to look at that. But we need to start because it's originating in their district, and that's kind of where we start.
There's not very many feet between you and the church, is it? How many feet is it between you and the church?
Not any. There's one right behind it, and there's one right across the street from it, and they've been there for years.
For a long time.
Yeah.
Okay,
Does that help? Does that answer?
thank you. Well, it's 2,000 feet. In other words, if we pass a resolution, it'll have to go to like
Zero.
nothing. So, I'm just letting you know, it's,
Help them, that's right.
yeah, so that'll be fine, I'm sure.
Understand when they adjourn, if you could speak to those two, they are your representative for your area, okay? Okay, thank you.
Okay? Any other business to come before the committee?
Question.
Okay, yes, sir.
So I'm not sure what committee it needs to go in front of, but what would be the protocol should this room be at capacity?
Well, we can go back out in the, well, as we done once or twice, and I don't know what to do.
Yeah, this
we
room
got a
is not
mess
big
tonight
enough.
somewhat, because we don't.
It doesn't make sense that we're all crammed in this room and we have a huge.
No, I agree too. And it's a headache to probably go back into the
We ain't
main
got-
courtroom, but I would suggest maybe trying to do that, just set up 2 tables in there and sit in the front and
You
just.
got COVID and flu and everything raging, and we're here, right here.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I think that it would encourage more folks, more constituents to come in and be a part of what they need to be a part of. If we could make that.
Well, I agree. We just have to, the other committees have to decide, of course, law enforcement meets after us, as does courthouse property, and finance met here before tonight. I don't know if it's overflowing then or not, but
You can barely fit us in here, let alone the public. I mean, it's basically just all of us.
It does, yeah.
If the public was here, where would we be?
Yes,
And of course, Dover Street's an option, that's where the finance meets. So
I
that's
mean,
where
I would
you-
rather
and
do,
that's where
I
you-
would
I
rather
would
do
rather do
Dover
that.
Street than this.
I would too.
I'll do whatever it takes legwork-wise to help get that in motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd hate to, we spent a lot of money on this courthouse. We spent a lot of money making it look good, and we're in there one day a month. The thing is our committees, it worked 3 months ago when we were doing the plan, when we had a large group due to the zoning issue. I think that we need to look at that, and if we need to bring it up in our committees, we'll do so. But the thing is we have a beautiful courthouse that we spend a lot of money. And the thing is we're only using it 12 days a month. We need to try to extend it.
yeah, I agree with
And
you
I'm fine with the
wholeheartedly.
courtroom too. I just
Courthouse
think
and
this
property
room is
place
not
to go.
good.
That's what,
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
I make a
courthouse and
motion
property.
that we make a motion at some point.
I think it'd do that in the courthouse and property meeting. That's
Thank you.
yours.
Yeah,
Mr.
well,
Chairman,
He's on law enforcement.
Oh, he's in law
We
enforcement,
should
okay.
make sure courthouse.
Question.
meets the challenge.
I think Mr. Hooker's working on this homeless task force. What's our status on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you asking. So I went to the city, been there twice. They have actually appointed the city manager to put their members on the team, so they are supporting us in this. So they're going to give us an update of who those individuals are in January. I will have our list completed by January, and then I will bring the full list to y'all, hopefully, as long as the city gets it to me in time in January for that update. Our goal would then be to have the first meeting in February.
Okay.
I also asked the chairman, I don't know if this is the appropriate location, but again, I'll bring it out and we'll figure it out. But I know many people have seen that Governor Lee announced today that the federal government is looking to resettle individuals from the border to Tennessee. I think it is something that goes along with the homelessness thing that we're doing, and again, I definitely will talk about it in that committee, but it is something that we need to get ahead of as a county, that we're not that resettling ground. And so I think it's one of those things that we need to be speaking with our state legislature and with the governor's office to find out where that plan is from the federal government and get ahead of it before we're seeing people, before we're able to combat it.
Well, have you talked to the state homeless coalition?
No, it's in process. That is
Okay.
on the list.
Have you talked to the nonprofits here in town
I
yet?
wanted to put the group together before we really start diving into a lot of material. I want to be able to get the right people in the group before we really start.
Well, there's a new federal program I just noticed today that came out that the White House initiative on the homeless, and it's got some money and got a whole plan, so you might want to check on that, because the Biden administration's got a bunch of money up there, you might want to check on with them on how you can put the plan together, so.
Thank you for that. I'll
Yeah,
definitely look
yeah,
into that.
I'll send you the link,
Thank
I'll do that now, yeah.
Any other business? You know, commissioners have any comments? We do, have that meeting tomorrow, as, Commissioner Vick has gone over, that it is at 200 Dover Street, it's Suite 100, from 6 to 8. It's already been announced, I think, the County Powers Act. Is there gonna be some taking statutes discussed there
We
or
talked
not?
about the
Chris?
last time, we did the last time we talked about it.
Other one, okay,
Previous conversation.
It was
okay.
pretty good.
Okay, good. Okay, any other announcements?
Move
Okay,
to
we got-
adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Merry Christmas,
So moved, yeah, Merry Christmas. We got a winter solstice tomorrow, shortest day of the year.
Enforcement Committee, and we'll call this meeting to order. All members are present. Mr. Boyd, would you mind having a prayer?
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for allowing us to come here tonight, dear Lord, to study county business, the law enforcement here, dear Lord, and ask that we make decisions that's best for our county. We ask that you bless each and every individual up here, dear Lord, and we ask that you bless the people that's out in the audience as well, dear Lord. Please help us to have a good Christmas. Thank you for all that you do for us. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. Next on the agenda will be the minutes approval of November 15th, 2022.
Make that motion.
Second.
Okay. Yeah, that threw me for a loop there. Property and courthouse minutes. That's it, we're all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I was thinking I was on the wrong agenda there for a minute. Yeah, that's what I was looking at. I got two of them, you know. So I was trying to figure out which one I'm supposed to be going by. All right. Next, be the reports. First up will be animal control. Joseph?
I don't have anything to add to the report. Had a few hurdles in the past couple months. Seems to me that 3 air units have went out, heat units. Had one replaced last week, getting one replaced tomorrow, and then 3 days ago our kitchen and surgery area air unit went out. So we're making it work. Ms. Rose brought us some heaters, so we're just kind of making it work and doing what we can. Over the past couple of days, we filled the shelter back up, which is unfortunate, but we'll manage.
Any questions for animal control?
Any special events coming up?
that you're doing?
Not right now. I did, try to get as many of the animals that we spayed and neutered a week ago. A week ago, we did a spay and neuter day on Friday and Saturday. And we did 54 animals in those 2 days. We have gotten, almost all of them except for 6 animals adopted or pulled from a rescue. So it's happening slowly. We're just bringing them in quicker than we can get them out. We did have some generous people come in and sponsor animals. That always helps. They might not be able to have an animal themselves, but they are more than happy to pay the adoption fee and pay it forward. So kind of a Christmas event, we kind of do that the couple days before Christmas to try to get as many out as we can.
Okay.
So,
One other question, Judge. What's your situation on the animals being outside with these frigid temperatures coming in, or?
you're talking about outside of the shelter, right?
Yes,
Or
ma'am.
are you talking in the shelter?
Well, now that you don't have heat
Well-
and air, both, I guess you might say, I mean,
Hopefully that problem will be fixed tomorrow. The outside animals, when we get out and down to temperatures like this, of course, we get need welfare checks too.
yeah,
So all of our animals have bedding, they have doors that close, they have heaters that are on. The inside, that heat's supposed to be fixed tomorrow, they're supposed to be there in the morning. As well as the county residents, I had put a post out on social media, you know, if anybody needed any help, they can get in touch with us. I have channels that I can reach out to and give an address, and they will take straw over there for them.
okay. Very good.
So. Okay?
All right, thank you.
Thank
Next up is the Sheriff's Department's reports enclosed.
I do not have a whole lot, you probably got about as much as I do, due to medical situations and as well as Christmas vacations, people not there, so I don't have a courtroom report or drug task force report. Do have Lieutenant Cook, Lieutenant in corrections, and Lieutenant,
Prince,
Ronald.
Ronald Prince, administrator.
I'm not talking about Ronald, correct, Gentry, are right under Ronald. And by the way, Lieutenant Cook, I know y'all have heard us talk recently about programs and education with the prisoners. That he's a big part of that. It's not only head supervisor on the night shift, but he's a big part. And Sylvia can tell you on the training and trying to get them back on the right track. As you can see, we had patrolled 56,000 miles. 801 warrants served, 181 arrests made, and I won't get into the specifics. This afternoon, about 2 hours ago, one of our officers just on being good law enforcement work, got a car stopped at the 231 gas station out there racetrack, I think it is, and quite a bit quantity of meth, as well as several pills, oxycodone, heavy duty pills, and a gun, loaded gun, several things. So it was good police work on his part. Proud of him. Last week was a really tough week for us at the Sheriff's Department. We had, and this happens a lot of times in the holidays. I don't know, loneliness or what. We had some suicides. And we had one standoff, and you probably saw in the newspaper, that was in War Trace that lasted 30-something hours and could have really gone. It did go, I mean, it didn't turn out good, but it could have gone a lot worse than what it did. I'd like to say, while it's too embarrassing, I guess, but the Bedford County Fire Department, Chief Thomas, and all of them were supported throughout the entire night. They, whatever we needed, they pretty much got it for us, and even went as far as to getting, after it was finally over the next day, brought in their fans to suck out as much as it could, the tear gas and things like that. Bringing us stuff, lighting, it was a big help, and I appreciate their help on that. That's about all I can come up with right now, unless you have some questions, I'll try to answer that.
Have any questions for the sheriff?
Sheriff, one question. First of all, again, I appreciate you. You'll hear me probably say that a lot, but I appreciate you and all the men and women that are serving to keep us safe and protected. Just a quick question: as I talk to folks, sometimes the phrase comes up, response time. Is that something that you all manage from maybe from any standpoint in regards to maybe an emergency response time versus just a basic call response time?
Well, when you say manage, I don't know how you would really manage it. Obviously, if it's an emergency situation, we're gonna try to get there faster by probably running 33, which is light sirens, whatever.
Yes.
Than we would if we were just going to take a report or something. Our officers stay out there as much as they can, but of course they do have to come in and do reports and things like that. And we try to keep it spread out, but the problem sometimes, and I guess is our biggest problem with response time, is we're getting calls and we're answering calls, and you might have 4, maybe at most 6 deputies covering 480 square miles, and you got one in Wheel and calls in Beach Grove, you've got a ways to go. And if everybody else is tied up, he might be the man. So I really, I don't know how you can really manage that other than just try to get to them with what you got as quick as you can.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, it can be a problem sometimes. Sometimes it's not. And actually nighttime, you can usually get to them quicker than daytime because the traffic is not a fraction of the traffic, especially late at night as it is during the day. And that's always a big hindrance, especially if you have to come through Shelbyville. But
Yes, sir.
I hope I answered your question.
Well, yes, sir, and I appreciate it. And the question comes more from, just are we resourced appropriately? If response times weren't what they should be, we could possibly, would you look to add resources or redo certain things? So it's just a question that I hear often, and I thought I would.
Yeah. Well, and quite honestly, if you're waiting on the fire department or the
Yes.
sheriff's department, a minute seems like an hour.
Yes, sir.
But I do know sometimes, I wish we could get quicker than what we do. But again, you have to do with what you got.
Do you know the national standards off the top of your head for our population or your geographic coverage? There are standards for that. And I feel sure we fall way short of the national standards. And financially would be how you would address that.
Yeah, that's just like used to, unless it has changed. The FBI said you should have 1 officer for every 500 people. We got 50,000.
Well, I mean, to your point, Mr. Mayor, it would be good just to know that information. Absolutely. That way we can, better prepare. And as those conversations happen out in the public, we would be able to not only entertain, but with an educated conversation, be able to get those folks up to speed. So, thank you for taking the questions. Sure.
And I will say this, and y'all have heard me say this before, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but the ones of us that are involved in emergency services, when catastrophe happens, no matter whose side of the field it's on, you'll see all these department heads come together and departments. Chris has been a part of it. David, Josie, you were out there the other night. You see this whole team come together and do a part. And it's not necessarily my game, but it takes all of us. And if you stood back and you watched these people do their jobs, you would be very proud of them. We have an amazing service here with what we've got.
Yes, sir.
So, all right, any further questions for Sheriff's Department? Next we have EMA, David.
I don't have anything to add new to the report. do have a couple things that I want to talk about. We're working, which just came out, schedule just came out this past week. We're working with the school system and intruder drills. And this is the first time we've had all the schools involved. It's going to go through January and February, so we'll take our group out, Mark's part of that also, and evaluate intruder drills that they do. It's something that the school systems require, and so we're going to be a part of that. We did a drill Monday, I think it was, at Central High School. We actually did a bomb threat out there, so we're starting to kick off that part. So just an update. I know we talk about we've worked with schools in our report, and that's just to give you an idea. We're going to have all through January and all through February, and we'll be touching every school in the county. So another thing is I wanted to say something about is, so TEMA brought to us a new product that they come out with. It's called a critical infrastructure dashboard, which is technically used for their tier 1 or places that are tier 2 businesses that has hazmat type materials. It's geared towards that. However, we can add our public safety or fire halls or EMS halls and things like that. I'm looking at ways to maybe tweak that a little bit, and we can use it here for things when we have incidents in areas to see if we have any type of critical infrastructure around their schools, things like that. So we're in the process of looking at that too, something that came up, and I'm always trying to figure out ways to use products in different ways, and that's another way we're talking about. The last thing I'll say is, as far as our new building, we had some painting done. That's done. We had some carpet cleaning done, and that is winding down. So we're looking at the process of starting to move maybe some furniture in. We don't have our fence up yet for security like we'd like it, but that's in the process of going through the motion to get that put up so we can get our equipment moved that we use. So we're making progress during this holiday. We've spent the last couple of days with dealing with the new building and along with the things that we are responsible for day to day. So we're working on that. So we're looking good on that. It should not be very long before we'll be able to move into that. That's all I got. Any questions?
I will tell you too, you know, with this bad weather coming in, David and the fire department, I spoke with Mark Clanton, and several of us were already working for that plan, what if, you know, we're what if, and we've got the warming shelters. Tammy, I think, has been in touch with them, getting all that lined up, because we don't know what's going to happen. You know how the weather is around here, you know, we'll predict. We're not going to get but a half inch, and we woke up and seen 6 inches on the ground, but hopefully that doesn't happen. But the wind chill is going to be the big thing, and like I say, we've been working, trying to get ourselves prepared for that over the Christmas holidays, so.
And I appreciate you saying it, yes. We're talking about the homeless. I think Castle Ministries are going to open up for them to have some place to go when the cold weather does come in. Also, we have been in touch with Fairhead Church already. If we have some type of issues with power or whatever, we have to find some shelter, some place for folks to go until they can get that fixed. So we've already got that ball rolling.
What's the location of the Castle Ministries?
It's right there on Madison Street. I don't know. Does anybody know?
It's across the street from Arby's.
Yeah.
It's a thrift store.
Oh, it's a thrift store, okay.
Right across an old fix-it shop.
Yeah.
There you go. Right, almost when you turn off.
Yeah,
the
it's
main
a long time.
entrance on the right-hand side.
You know, you know, right?
You're starting to tell, oh,
Yeah, I do,
She didn't
yeah.
have much space.
brown.
And also, we've touched base with the Shelby Police Department on that also, Brian Cruz, and they know that when they come across folks like that, on calls or they're doing their patrol or whatever, and to give them that opportunity to be able to go there. So they know that also.
David, if they have any pop-up kennels or anything like that, we can step in and help with that as well.
Okay.
Food bowls, pop-up kennels, because I know some are allowed in facilities without that. We still have some pop-up kennels that was used for a hoarding case several years ago, so.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, just
Thank
like.
You definitely have people that won't leave their animal behind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got them from small, medium to large to extra large. So.
Thank you.
Any further questions for EMA?
Mark, thank you for sending out the weather report to the commissioners.
Well, that's generated through David's
Through David's
office,
program.
and we kind of pass it around, and we
Yeah.
set through, Brian and I set through those weather briefings. Matter of fact, we'll have one Thursday to get the latest and greatest, and so, but try to keep
Thanks.
our people informed anyway of what's going on. Next is probation.
It's in-
There he is.
I have nothing really other than after the report, other than software upgrades still, it's going good. Work with developers this month and got a few reports that's actually going to help the officers cut out some of their work time. So I knew going in that it's going to take time to get everything I want from ISOMs, but I'm slowly starting to get it, and I expect after Christmas to even more things like that. So, any questions?
Hearing none, and let's see. Did they take you off my list, or did they move you, or? Yeah, okay. Well, we'll hear from juvenile detention.
I don't have anything additional to add to my report unless you guys have questions. I did just want to make a note that we've had a huge outpouring of support from the community for this holiday season. I'd like to wait till Christmas and all the holidays get over and then maybe report that in January. It's been amazing how many people have come forward and done things for the kids' place there at the holiday season.
Is there anything that you're lacking that's needed? Okay. Any questions for probation?
Juvenile.
I mean juvenile. She's not on my list.
No, that's
That's the
that'd
truth.
be my oversight.
That's all right, that's all right, that's all
Computer
right.
glitch.
We know you.
All, buck stops here.
That's all right. All right, that's all the reports, so I need a motion to approve reports as presented.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait,
He's under new
He's
business,
under
old
new
business.
he's
Yeah.
coming up next.
Yeah, he's up next.
Motion
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Other reports for information only, which we have none. Next will be the Sheriff's Department tablet bid, which was just a 3-year contract, is the reason it came before this committee, and we deferred it so we could look at that. And I think everybody was emailed the link to look at that. I sent it to Linda as well. Sent it to Josh Carney, IT department, and he's very familiar with it. Correct me if I'm wrong, Austin, but they said that they work with that vendor already, and they're very reputable and good people to work with, and I think Linda.
I'd like to just throw out one sentence or two about support. I read through it, and it's like a lot of programs. You really don't know till you get in there and use it and do, but they had good feedback from some places that had, but I had a lady at the central office who knows more than I do about some of these programs look at it, and she said she saw no problems at all. And again, you use it and may have to tweak it and see how you like it. If you don't like it, don't renew.
Mr. Mayor, did Robert, I meant to reach out to him, but I didn't, but he's okay with that contract as far as you know?
Yeah, my understanding was it was a formality issue because it
Yeah.
was greater than 1 year.
Yeah.
So there, it brings it to the body.
And it's no financial at all to the county at all, so we'll open floor for questions. And
You
Mr.
want to
Cook,
give him
Mr.
do a
Cook, maybe.
presentation? I
Do you-
think he has one.
Do you want to speak on this program?
Or
Is there something that I could, that I can bring to the
Specific
table?
questions or anything?
Ronald actually, Administrator Prince, he actually had planned on coming here tonight, and he had a family emergency. So he called me at the last minute and said, hey, can you, come to the meeting and answer any questions they might have. Sure, I will, yeah. The biggest issue that I could see with tablets for most people is, why would you offer inmates tablets, right? I mean, if the general public looking at that would think, why would you want to do that? I see that as just another program that we do at the jail. We started back in the spring offering programs. We've never had programs at the jail before. Somewhere early part of the summer, maybe June, it occurred to me that I started to see how successful these programs were. And we were really changing up the behavior in a lot of our inmates. And it occurred to me that at some point I might actually need to make a presentation to a group of people like this to explain why we would need to do this. So I actually sat down and thought about what would be my argument against somebody when they told me, and I have actually heard this quite a few times, these people committed a crime, they need to go to jail, do their time, sit there and think about what they did wrong. Well, here's my argument to that. The recidivism rate nationally is about 76% after 3 years. Bedford County, when we started doing programs, I actually looked at our recidivism rate for the last 10 years, and we're at about 72%. That's not to say we're better than the national average, because people come here, commit crimes, they go back to the county they live in and commit crimes in other counties. So we're probably somewhere around the national average. But here's something I came across. According to TDOC, 94% of every person incarcerated in the state of Tennessee will reoffend within 3 years. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. 94% of people incarcerated in Tennessee will be released in 3 years. And I asked myself, what kind of person are we releasing? That is my argument for programs. What kind of person are we releasing back into our community? Because I can tell you, locking somebody up, letting them sit and think about what they did wrong is absolutely not what they're going to do. They're going to think about what they did wrong that got them caught and how not to do that again next time. The person that we want to release back into our community is someone that has recognized what their mistakes were. I got the opportunity to go to a program summit a couple of months ago with the state. And I always used to say about 85% of the people in our jail are there because of addiction. People would look at me funny when I said that. But I got to hear an expert speak at that summit, and he actually said the number was more like 95%. So I felt a little vindicated in what I was saying, but I was also a little bit low on my numbers. Most of the people in our jail are there because of addiction. I don't care, they're either using, selling to support their habit, or they're buying drugs or moving drugs or stealing to whatever, breaking into houses. It all comes back to addiction. And we want to help as many people as we can, but we also have to recognize that we are limited on the number of people that we can help. With approximately 250 people in our jail, and at any given time we're servicing about 50 of them. That means there's about 200 people in our jail that we are not getting in touch with, necessarily. They may get out before we can help them, or for whatever reason their charges are too violent, we can't put them into a classroom setting. Tablets will absolutely help that. Not only does it give them something to do to occupy their time, which may seem like a petty thing, but when you lock a person up 23 hours a day, with absolutely nothing to do, they're going to think of creative things, that aren't necessarily in the best interest of the public. Tablets will absolutely give them something to do to occupy their time, but it will also give them access to programs similar to the ones that we're doing. It will give them educational opportunities. They can get their GED. There's some college courses on there that they can take. Some vocational training where if they want to learn a skill. This is more than just giving them the opportunity to watch movies and read books. And that's, yes, they do have that, but it's a lot more than that. So.
I have some questions.
Go ahead.
Lieutenant Cook, I appreciate you being here. I did have the opportunity to speak to Mr. Prince. We had a good conversation. I had a couple, actually. But I've done a lot of research, so I did receive the information that we got from the mayor's office. Thank you for that. Also have done hours of online research. I've had, again, conversations with our facility. I've had also conversations with another facility in the state, and I've talked to a lot of constituents. So I have a few questions. I'll try to be as brief as I can. But so this is a for-profit program, correct?
Yes.
It is. So, in other words, when an inmate purchases a movie or a game, you would in turn make money on that purchase, correct?
I don't.
You don't, but the jail system does, correct?
The county does. It's no different than the phones that they currently have.
Commissary.
Yeah. And I'm not. This is not interrogation. I want to just throw it out there, right? So, so that's obviously a concern that I have, and I only talk slow. I know a little bit about the IT world. Matter of fact, that's what I do a little bit or that's what I do in the private sector. So, have you ever heard of rooting a device?
No.
Okay. So, rooting a device is basically taking the device and erasing the user interface and allowing the person to then take over and use the device as they will. And these tablets, although they're locked down and they have specific programs designed specifically for whatever application, they're still based on an Android system. And that Android system is very antiquated, which allows it to be even quicker, it's even quicker to root that system. Matter of fact, if you take the tablet that they're proposing that you all receive, and you go on YouTube and you just Google the question, there is a person that proudly takes you through 42 seconds of how to root that tablet. So what happens when they root that tablet? Then that person will have every ability to use that tablet as an Android device to do whatever they want to do. Whatever they want to do. So for me, that is a concern. So as of November of 22, let me just read you something real quick. So we'll be brief. Use MediaTek SoC platform and highly outdated build of an Android OS system. Both of these common threads allow exploits which make unlocking, finishing, rooting possible. Fairly recent piece of a development known as an MTK. If you don't know what an MTK is, that's something also you should research in regards to an Android device. Is capable of exploiting, locking down bootloaders, a significant percentage of MediaTek chipsets, especially the cheap MediaTek chipsets used by Securus to manufacture J tablets. It goes on and on and on, but it basically talks about how easy it is to root those tablets. So there's one concern there.
Could I
Please.
respond to that?
Yeah.
So, in what I do for a living, I realize, and I'm not just talking about as a corrections officer, but also just as a program director.
Yes.
I realize that I am working with a significant number of our population who are sociopaths. So, if you don't know exactly what a sociopath is, they don't follow rules. Matter of fact, they push the boundaries just for the fun of it sometimes. So I always, anytime I'm starting a new program, I always have to weigh the consequences of a person doing something similar to like what you said versus the benefit to the majority of our inmates. Does that make sense?
It does.
So, my response to you, while you may be correct, I mean, I'm not an inmate, okay, but, so the tablets are constantly monitored by the vendor. On top of that, the shift sergeant and everybody in administration will have their own tablet, which we can monitor what they're doing. So, is it possible that a person could do what you just said and go look at porn? Yes, I'm guessing by what you said that is possible. But if you do something once, the thing about a sociopath is they're constantly going to they're going to keep trying to get away with what they can get away with. So if you do that once, we will maybe not catch you once, but if you do it twice, 3 times, then we are going to catch you and we're going to revoke your privilege. My question, really what it gets down to is the benefits to the population of the jail that I can't currently put into my programs far outweighs the consequences of one person going online and looking at whatever, something that they don't even be looking at. Is that fair?
It's fair, but Lieutenant Cook, you're not talking about just one person. We're making speculation on this is a what-if situation. These tablets can be unlocked by any person, any person. And we're in this pretend conversation where there may just be 1 or 2. With all due respect, we're in this pretend conversation where there may just be 1 or 2 people that unlock it and look at it something that they shouldn't online. But that's not my point. These people can then unlock these tablets and make transactions. You made a comment earlier. You said, they have 23 hours to think. Well, let me kindly say, a tablet will allow them the opportunity to act on those things that they think. That's a number one thing for me. So I also had a conversation with another jail administrator over in another county. I'll withhold his name for now, but I will say that he did mention the good was that they had the law library. That was good. The county, he said the county does get money from some of the transactions. I think that's interesting. He said that they are having huge issues with the inmates breaking the tablets. It's a huge issue to take care of the program. They're taking the batteries out of the tablets, they're attaching them to other devices and running those devices from the battery that's in the tablet. They're easily misplaced. He said that it is a privilege that can be taken away, and it is a privilege that can be taken away. He said, though, and this is the biggest thing he said it's a big responsibility to take care of it, and I quote, If given the opportunity again, I would not prioritize this again. If given the opportunity, I would not do it. So that is from somebody that's already, and if you do a little more research online and you read, there are some counties, there are some states that have enacted it, brought them in, but there are also a lot of folks that have brought them in and retracted them. There's another county in Georgia that's made mention that they're pulling them out. So, and because in this one county in Tennessee, it's become such an issue that they've taken away the movie privilege, they've taken away the game, and quite frankly, again, the jail administrator said he wouldn't do it again. So, I've got a little more. I'll save it if I need it for later. But if you just look at the common sense thing here, it's like we have kids and these people are not kids. They're folks that have made poor decisions and they're in the jail system for that reason. I do believe there should be consequences to that. But if you look at our society today, you see a lot of times that if you're in a store, you see a parent give a phone to a crying child because to make them stop crying. This to me is absolutely not a good idea, and I'm against it. Again, I've got more information. I'll be happy to talk with you about that. I don't want to take any more time. I appreciate the time I was given. But again, I've done hours of research on this because I wanted to make the right decision. Last thing I'll say again, to reiterate, I've talked to many constituents, even another one today that brought to attention of another facility in Colorado that that pulled them out of their system. I have not talked to a single constituent that's for it, and I made a pledge when I took this position that I was going to do what and be the voice of the people, and that's what I'm doing here. So I appreciate your time.
Mr. Chairman, first off, same situation, every constituent I've talked to is negatively against this. And again, I made that same idea that I'm not gonna support anything that constituents are adamantly against. The other thing is, I wanna talk about this routing. I have a 9-year-old son, and his best friend hacked into the Android system at the school system and opened up the emails of the teachers. So the thing is, this is a 9-year-old that did this and did it rather easily. And so the thing is this is someone who did it out of fun for him, but it ended up causing a lot of issues security-wise on the school system. So the thing is we have to be very cautious when we go to do things like this, that we don't just make decisions to make it easier for us. Because I think that yes, it might make it easier and it might make it a one step for the inmates that it might be beneficial for them at times. But I think you're opening up a can of worms when you go into this, because I think that you might end up with drastically larger problems than you're going to fix. And so when we go to make these decisions, and unfortunately, when we go to talk about these things, we talk about all the great things that people do, and we have some great people that work for this county. The thing about it is, though, is we have to make decisions that are best for the population that we serve, which are the constituents. And so in this situation, I just do not see any way that this is a positive thing for the county.
Any further comments?
May I say something?
Sure.
So, I know it's a 3-year contract, right? So if you guys get into it 6 months from now and you don't like it, I guess you could just take them up, not use them. Is that right? I mean, is there any penalty for that? Or?
So, there is no cost to the county
Right.
anyway, okay? So, I mean, assuming this is like a really bad idea or whatever, then yes.
Okay.
They can be taken up and keep them for the life of the contract.
Right.
and return.
I'd like to make a motion to send it to the floor of the commission.
Well, we don't have a choice but to send, we can't make that decision here, so it'll have to go before the commission, favorable, unfavorable, or just recommendation. We can't
Favorable.
make that decision, one way or the other. It has to go to the commission floor to be voted on by the 18th. So, Commissioner Henson has made a motion to send it to the commission, correct?
Correct. Favorable.
With a favorable recommendation. We hear a second. I'll second it to send it to the commission. So, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Okay. It goes to the commission for them to vote on. All right, any other new business to come before the committee? Any announcements? Y'all be careful with the cold weather coming up. And hope y'all have a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
May God bless you all. Motion to adjourn.
No, let's do it from here. Okay, so I have to print. Been elected to do the meeting tonight, so we're going to be winging this just a little bit. And so moving into it, I'll do a call to order for the Courthouse and Property Committee meeting, and I'll ask Drew if he will lead us in a word of prayer.
Yeah, please bow your head. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, please be with us tonight as we make good decisions for our constituents and for our county. Just be with each person as they make decisions and ask questions to better get information as we are to do the will of the people. In Jesus' name, amen.
Okay, and we are missing 2 people from the committee, so at this point, do we have a form that we could
Yeah,
vote
we're
to
good.
approve with the 3?
Yep.
We can. Okay, so first thing up would be the approval of minutes of the November 15th, 2022 Courthouse and Property Committee minutes. Do I
Motion
have
to
a
approve.
motion?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Under reports, we have Codes Department report, and there was reporting closed. Is there anyone here that needs to add anything?
Nothing to add, any questions on that report?
I did not. Do you all have questions?
No.
No questions.
And thank
That was
you
easy
again for
you.
such a great report. It's definitely a breath of fresh air.
Yes, thank you, we appreciate that. Next up will be Fire Department report, and we have a reporting closed. Any additions to that? Nope. Y'all are gonna make this easy for me. Thank you for the report. E911, we have a reporting closed. Anybody here to speak to that or need to speak? Seeing no one? We'll just move. Okay, well, they're not here, so we'll accept the report on that. Let's see, number 5, GIS, and we had a reporting closed. Anything additional on that?
Not unless anybody has any questions. Oh, I did take our, the official photos. I have added those to the page which lists all the commissioners, so there's now a little thumbnail of your face there next to your.
I don't know if we should thank you for that or not, John, but we will. We'll say thank you for your work on that.
Yeah, you're gonna have to run mine through an app.
Okay. Any
Yeah.
questions, any other questions for John? Okay, and next up is planning zoning report, and we had a reporting closed. Any additional information there?
No additional information. Yeah, I do. So over the last 6 weeks, in District 1, we've had several properties that went to the zoning approval, the zoning of appeals, sorry. And then we also had 2 come to Rule Committee that were ones that we did not get prior knowledge to. And so if you would, in the future, if you could just try to give us a little bit of heads up, it just gives myself and Commissioner Maddox enough time to reach out to constituents and things like that. We kind of learned about it at the meeting, so just wanted you to know that.
Yeah, we added all the commissioners to, my secretary Barbara has now, she's got all you guys on a list now, so you should be getting everything.
Okay, thank you for that.
Chris, when's the next meeting for, all the action you guys are doing on the planning commission? When is the next meeting for that? Just your regular meeting?
The next regular meeting,
Okay.
we just have one item on the agenda, it's just it's a final plat for a subdivision. From here on out, I've got a bunch of things coming
Right.
up that I don't wanna have any more special call meetings, so what I'm gonna be doing
Okay.
is as I prepare these amendments, come up, I'll just be bringing them up as they come.
Okay.
This next meeting we have,
27.
it's just got one item on the agenda, it's very simple, pretty simple.
That's it.
Right.
And is there any chance, and again, I don't know the procedure on this, but as you're sending those things, I know y'all are voting on a ton of things in the planning and preparing for this moratorium and getting the document kind of changed. Is there any way we can get a copy of those things so we can kind of go along with the planning committee? Because what I'm afraid of is as it comes all as one chunk to the commission, that we're gonna have 30 days to look at this thing, where if we're looking at it on the way that y'all are approving, then it allows us to kind of follow along, and if there is things that throw up red flags, then we can start asking or come into the planning commission and asking for that.
Right, and one of the things I discussed with them in the last meeting, which was a special call meeting, was that I would be getting these things to them, to the planning commission with just 1 or 2 items at a time, rather than stacking a whole bunch of things that make it very difficult for you guys to keep up with and study, because I know a lot of you guys want to study these items individually, so with a little more depth than other people, and so
we'll be happy to do that, and like I said, I've got all the commissioners now on the distribution list, so you should be getting everything that we get from the commission.
Thank you.
Okay, again, I think it's, Drew's got a good point, and we talked about that, but it'll all go in one big wad eventually to the county commission to be approved at one time. And so, Drew, that's very important that everybody keeps up all the time, so, yeah, you're not having to.
Yeah, it just, I mean, because we get a lot of business, and I'm sure getting toward the summer when this will be kind of coming out, we'll get a lot more business. And that 30-day period from the time we catch it till the time we have to vote on it, it's pretty going to be a robust document.
It'll be one vote, one time.
Yeah.
Change the whole thing, so, yeah, keep up.
If I could tell you, we just got it after the meeting, they were supposed to have before the meeting, but some legal overview of the resolution that Commissioner Anderson was wanting to circulate that would kind of revisit how zoning and all that stuff works. So we're going to get all that stuff pushed out to you. They've got it on their agenda for next month to, I think, possibly have a study session. But we'll get that out to you, because that all goes hand in hand with all the stuff about how this all lays in what state law says about who does what and all that stuff. So they're supposed, I haven't read it, but that's what legal was supposed to send today. And I just got a notice in my email. I have it, so we'll get it pushed to you guys tomorrow.
And one thing I would like to add is that previously the planning commission just revised their bylaws. And so this happened just a couple months ago. And one of the things we've been asking for quite some time is more time to do the review, more time for the planning commission to study, which in terms, if you're coming to planning commission meetings, you guys are, getting these materials and you want to study them, gives you more time. Because used to, person had to submit things to me, and I had 2 weeks to get it on the commission agenda. And that means writing the staff responses, that means advertising in the Times Gazette, that means sending out neighbor notification letters that I'm required to do. All the signage, everything that we're required to do. I had 2 weeks to get it out there, and then they had basically 30 days to look at it, and then, essentially they could legally, they could put it off for 1 month and review it for 30 days, but within 90 total days, we had to say yes or no. Now, what we've done is we've added a lot of time to that. We've given ourselves a lot bigger buffer. So when somebody brings in a subdivision plat or whatever, the first thing they have to do is come in and meet with me, and we have to have a pre-development conference. Then they submit a set of drawings, then they get my staff notes, and it gives me 2 weeks to give them staff notes. And then they've got another week to make their change, another 2 weeks to make their changes and get them back to me, to get them on the commission floor. So anyway, we just have a lot more time now. But in the past, we were running and gunning just to meet the requirements. And so that's one of the reasons why. I mean, it's been like that ever since we've had a planning commission. So now we've got a little room. And I know this is Rules Committee primarily, but just so clarification, because I think it came up on our zoning request out in Bell Buckle, that the Planning Commission is in the document that you have an allotted amount of time from the time that the subdivision or zoning request change puts in, you have a certain amount of time that you either have to move it forward or it's automatically approved, correct? Does the commission and the committees, do we have that same time frame? Or does once you give it to us, like if we kick it 30 days to study it more, are we on that same time clock, or is it just the planning commission? It's just the planning commission, and it really has just to do with the subdivisions.
Okay.
Because the subdivisions never make it to the county commission.
Yeah.
The planning commission has sole jurisdiction on subdivisions. So
Okay.
it's a rule, it's a state law actually that's in place for subdivision approvals. So what it does is it keeps the administrative wheels from locking down and just not ever telling somebody yes or no.
Okay.
Costing people money. And so it forces us to act. And so it gives us a certain amount of time to act. When it comes to rezoning, those are the things that eventually make it to the county commission.
Okay.
Okay, Linda?
Drew, I have asked Ginger this, and we've talked about it a lot at the commission level. The planning commission has to go by the book, literally by the book. Commission, pretty much do what you want to, except there are two words, capricious and various. And those have been brought up in a couple of lawsuits that involve the commission. So her response to that, and I've asked her that about deferring it, you could probably get by with deferring it for 30 days if you had a reason. A reason like, I want a traffic study done, I want a count of this or that, or I want to see a plat drawn, I want to see another drawing of something. Just to say you want to look at it more, or study it more, or nothing that's not basically mathematical or something that's on paper. You might get by with it for 30 days, but but after not much more than that, or they'll nail you. If it's not approved, then that's something they could come back on.
Yeah, we were just running up against we were, I guess, putting ourselves on our own time limit, but on this one that was in Bell Buckle, we were trying to get communications between Mark Clanton's office and Dr. Garrett, and we were just pushed to time, and we just wanted to make sure that if that comes up again, where we're waiting on a report, we're trying to get more information, then if we have that same ability, because I don't want to put planning in a bind where we're kicking it 30 days and it puts you on a clock, so I just want to make sure.
It'd be our clock, but
Yeah.
if you do something like that, especially deferring it, always say why, and something that you need,
Yeah.
that's no problem. Then if you get into another 30 days and, you need something else, like get some eye rolling somewhere, much more than that, they can come back on us, just because they'll say we're delaying it.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Any more questions or comments? Okay, I'm not gonna leave you out, Mr. Carney. Because aren't we supposed to add IT to this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So, on my report, I just listed a couple of the projects that we worked on this past month. We finished up a telephone refresh. They had an antiquated condyle POTS phone system that was very old. The health department, it was just falling apart. Was not reliable. The public couldn't make phone calls in and out of the facility. The carrier was separating from all of their customers, and we went in and installed 64 phones between two sites at the health department. They are a quasi-state entity. However, some of their budget is county budget is reimbursable by the state. But we went in, they paid for the phones, 64 of them. The switches, the two switches came out of the county budget. But we went in, we installed phones, that would save them. They were paying around $900 a month for phone services because they had an old legacy system. So now, that'll save them $9,000 a year, the system we put in. That should pay for itself in 3 years, based on quality analysis we did on the current, what they were paying versus what they will be paying. That puts our voice over IP system, we have 276 phones in the field, and at a cost of $25 a year for our service, our annual contract with our voice over IP consultant in Nashville. So it costs us $7,000 a year. We pay an annual service agreement with this company called Ideacom Networks for very complex troubleshooting migrations or upgrades, software upgrades to the system. That's included in the fees we pay. We have ever since we've had the company, ever since I've been here. And we pay a lot less than what we would pay if we had a hosted system, meaning cloud-based phone system, what you might find out there. Anything cloud-based, internet-based phone system. So it's a fraction of the cost. Nobody can really compete with us because we have an in-house system that we manage here on site. So we did have some savings. I know Linda wanted to hear that number. There it is, $9,000 a year. The other was the courthouse AV system. We were waiting on wireless microphones. That was taken care of. That finishes out that should complete the installation of the AV system in the commissioner's porch next door, right next to us here. So those wireless microphones are running. And we have data drops everywhere. Everything's been terminated, completed. The only thing remaining for that, which is separate from the AV portion, we're going to be bringing in some devices that the commissioners will be able to interact with the digital version of the agenda and meeting
be able to take any questions. There's a list of some of the other projects that we have coming up next month on the back of the sheet. Feel free to ask any questions anytime. I'm available. Y'all know how to reach me. Call me, email me.
Okay. Any questions or comments on any of that? Thank you for that report. So the next thing we need to do is approve the reports. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Other reports for information only, there are none. We don't have any old business on ours. We don't have any new business
Well,
unless somebody has something.
Yeah, I would like, oh, go ahead, Mayor. No, go ahead.
I don't know if she told you guys, it was all, if you
No.
got it, tell her.
No, I don't know if it's the
Okay,
same
well,
thing.
Julie reached out to me and wanted to just make sure the committee understood that she has now gotten, I guess, the latest data about county properties, and she's, merging that with the document she had before, and should have it for you guys at the next meeting. For you guys.
Oh, okay, thank you. Any additional?
Yeah, it was brought up in the previous meeting about meeting location, and I think it would probably behoove us to talk about that. As we've seen tonight, we were jam-packed in this room, and I think that we have a beautiful facility about 30 feet from us that was more than adequate when we did it 3 months ago. I would love to see us do that, but again, I would love to hear your opinion about that.
I just think this room is too small most of the time.
I have a suggestion that Chris probably knows this building as much as anybody, and like, you know, say for this room, do you need whatever that is over there? I don't know. But maybe get with somebody who really knows this building and see if there's any other possibilities. Because a little bit like Drew, I hate to say that, but we paid a lot of money to fix all this up, and but just explore the possibilities with the mayor and maybe Chris on something.
I want to put a timeline on it. I don't want to just talk about it, though. We need to put a timeline on it and put it in action. This is not something that we just need to kick the can down the road. I urge you to.
Well, I think it's important that this isn't for our comfort or things like that. If a handful of constituents wanted to come to the earlier meeting, we wouldn't have had a place for them. And the thing is we have to be open to the constituents to be here. It already, starting at 5, pushes them, because anybody that gets off at 5 o'clock pretty much can cancel being at the first meeting. And I think that's a shame as well. Now, that's a conversation for a different day. But the thing is we have to be as open as possible as a commission to allowing the constituents to come in here and voice their opinions and hear what the daily business is. And yes, we put it out online, and yes, we put out minutes. But if they decide to come, we need to be as accessible as possible for them to be able to be in here. So I guess I can to see if to make a motion that the mayor's office would to work with the different administrative groups to come up with maybe a couple solutions to the problem, and then that we can vote on it in 30 days.
Okay, so we have a motion.
What's the options? I mean, is this the biggest room we've got besides? It's either here or the main courtroom. And I talked to Josh about this when I was outside.
There's pretty much, those are the only 2 major rooms. The question could be whether this wall could be moved or whether this.
I wouldn't want to do any construction. We've got that room over there, so
I
mean, I'll do whatever.
Make a motion to send it to the commission on what you want to do, and let them vote it up to them.
Is that where you want to go, Drew?
Yeah, I'll rescind my motion and let you.
Would you?
Well, I mean, I'm good with that. I'll make a motion that we move this meeting to the main, or move all committee meetings to the main courthouse or courtroom.
Even finance?
I think that we make it a common location for all the committee meetings. That way there's no hesitation for the community. They know exactly where meetings are.
That's what I'm saying, make a motion.
Linda, what do you think?
Like I said, what's in there? You open that one up, or you go all the way to the other end of this one, and you've got a massive room right here.
What's wrong with the courtroom?
It's just setting it up every time.
The acoustics ain't real good in there to me either. know, if you're in the audience and people are talking out there, it's hard to hear. I like the Dover Street,
Right.
because that's a big open room and we can have the conversation we're having in here without any microphones or anything like that. Where in there,
It's hard to hear in there.
It's hard for me to hear. I'm just that person. I'll get over that.
Josh is the audio visual in there is, I know you did, I came to a planning commission meeting that was in there and it was set up with microphones. Is that a difficult task?
So, here's where we've been up till now. Previously, we've had to get somebody to come in here and help us set up all that with speakers that would help us bring a mixer board, something with phantom power those microphones. We've had to actually have somebody come and help us set that up, a contractor. So, that's been something we've had to do up until now. Well, then we now have the wireless mics. So those wireless mics, you know, you're welcome to listen to them and test them out. There's 2 of them though. So if you need more than that, that might bring a challenge. We don't have a way to interface in the equipment yet to try to turn that into a committee meeting space. Because what we did, what the design was to make it for commissioners. We don't have a way to interface a lot of microphones. So we have 2 wireless.
Okay, what about the possibility of meeting in this room? You could prop that door. Is there a possibility you could put a television in that little hall there that you could have like an overflow space?
Well, this, on that note, and agree that we need to, if you're gonna stay in, the interesting thing is, for those that weren't on the commission from before, but we used to meet on the 3rd floor, and that space wasn't any bigger than this space. But that doesn't mean that we didn't need more space, but I'm just saying, this space is not like really smaller, but we were going to bring technology in here, and so yes, they would be able to see, in fact, they could now, even with the live stream, that TV or the equivalent of that could be out there for overflow space, yes.
Josh, for the wireless mics, are you talking like a handheld mic that you can talk into? Most of the time in these committee meetings, the chairman's the one that talks 95% of the time, and then, you know, it's handed off. I mean, is there speakers above where the audience is in that location? So in all reality, the audio visual is in place for that location. All right, so I'm going to continue with my motion to move all committee meetings into the main courtroom.
You want it with a recommendation, or just to put it on the agenda?
Just put it on the agenda.
Well, we'll put it on the agenda and see, unless I don't want to make a decision for the
Yeah.
finance committee if they're
If
they're good with out there, but I do like to have room for everybody that's coming in to be comfortable to be able to listen to the committees.
Yes, sir.
So, Commissioner Hooker, thank you for making the motion. So, I mean, it just seems to me that what made it a little cumbersome was I've attended the meetings, the planning meeting, and there's a whole host of people that are on the planning committee. And that makes it a little more cumbersome to kind of manage and maintain. But it seems like that with the front audience, or the front portion being small, right, you only have a few people, that it just doesn't, it just makes more sense to move next door. I just don't see the big, even from a sound standpoint. At the end of the day, we're doing this more for the people than just for us. So, and I have a strong feeling that there's going to be more people as time marches on. There's going to be a lot more people that are going to start coming to these meetings.
So we had a motion. Do we have a
I
second?
guess I'll second it.
Okay. Any other comments or questions before we move on? And so what we're motioning to do is to send it before the commission to move the committee meetings to the big courtroom.
All committee meetings.
All committees. All 4 committees. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We'll send that on to the commission. Any other new business? Anything else? I think all the announcements have probably been covered. So Merry Christmas, stay warm. I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.